Okay, good night and welcome to our eighth session of the ideation training of the Agribusiness Technical Incubator. Once again, my name is Silverio Marin and I'm the Incubator Coordinator for the FAO in Belize, and I'll be your host for this evening's training session. With me, we also have Mr. Sergio Gomez, who is going to be delivering tonight's presentation. But just before we go on to that, I just want to remind you that this capacity building activity is being held under the project Technical Assistance for Inclusive, Sustainable and Resilient Food Systems in the rural and peri-urban areas of the Cayo district as a response to the COVID-19. The project is part of a technical cooperation program between the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security and Enterprise. This ideation training, as you know already, is offering support to all the entrepreneurs to transform your ideas into proposed business plans. Before we go into the actual session, I just want to share with you some pointers. We know that we have been getting some comments through our different platforms, and I just wanted to let you know that we are attentive and we are listening to you and we are responding as we go along. We we do have a situation where the Central Farm Office is currently closed for sanitation, and they will be reopening until Monday. So you may reach us via the Telegram channel. You can leave your comments there. And you can also reach us through email by sending us an email to agri.incubator@agriculture.gov.pz, and we will be able to assist you. For those of you who have been sending your draft Model C Canvas, you will know that we have been providing feedback. And to those of you who have not been sending your canvases yet, you can do so. You can email us at agri.incubator@agriculture.gov.bz, or you can send us a message via our Telegram channel, and we will reach out to you. We also want to remind you that the final versions for the Model C Canvas can be submitted as of the 31st of January, and we will be closing the session to receive the final versions on February the 7th. And so you will have 1 week, an entire week after we have completed all our sessions for you to be able to turn in your Model C Canvas, which will then go on to the selection process. No, it will be your pitch. So very well. Um, to reach to us, you can do so via email, as I mentioned earlier. And I want to remind you all that you can also access the content and the materials of each of the training sessions via our Google Classroom. And you can share your comments via our Telegram channel. And you can also review the recordings of these sessions in our YouTube channel. Very well. Well, tonight, we have with us Mr. Sergio Gomez, as I mentioned before, and he will be sharing with us some tips on the key resources. Mr. Gomez is not only a technical consultant, but he's also an entrepreneur himself. And so he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to assist and guide you all to create your business model. Over to you, Sergio.
Thank you, Silverio. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me, and welcome to the 8th of the ideation training. Like Silverio mentioned, tonight we'll be talking about key resources. What are they, and how do we identify them in our business, right? So, as entrepreneurs, what do entrepreneurs do all day? What are we supposed to be doing all day, right? While setting up a business or running a business, what exactly is that? What are we supposed to be doing? When someone says, I'm starting a business or I'm running a business, what are we actually doing? Have you ever asked that question? Well, It could be several things. It could be we're dealing with marketing. We could be that we're designing our prototypes. We're doing sales. We're doing finances, or we're even dealing with human resources, right? So much goes into keeping and running a business. It does not matter how small or how big your business is. If you have employees or if you do not have employees, right? There's a lot that's always going on in running a business, especially if you're starting up, right? As entrepreneurs, we probably get into business, well, because it's our passion or because of need. We wanted a second income, or we might have seen a problem, right? And we wanted to solve that, right? We had some issues, and we wanted to solve those issues, and perhaps those issues are the same issues that other people want, right? Or maybe we just started it as a side business, right? But that side business now became our main business. It got so big that it became our main business. Um, well, here's the secret, right? As entrepreneurs, we have to do it all, from prototyping to customer servicing to surveying to marketing to sales and even payrolls, right? Starting up, we might not have the budget, so we have to do it all, right? Um, there is so much to do. There's so much to do. To help us prioritize, we need to figure out what tasks we need to do in order to deliver these activities, right? In order to deliver value to our customers. And these are called key activities. We need to identify all those tasks that's going to put value to our product, that's going to make us competitive against our competitors, right? And the materials, the equipment, and all the intellectual property, like recipes, if you're doing a pepper sauce, all of that is called key resources, right? So those are two very important terms, right? Key activities and key resources. Key activities are all those tasks, all those small things or big things that we need to do to run our business, right? And everything that's required to do those activities, we consider them as key resources, right? The idea in any business is, of course, the core of the business, but so much more goes into the daily operation of the business, right? It started as an idea, but a lot more has to be done to develop that idea, right? In in our value proposition, as discussed by Carlos in day 6 of the ideation training, we identify why customers should choose us, right? What makes us more attractive, right? What makes us more competitive? And this, of course, is our competitive advantage, right? All of the tasks we absolutely need to do to keep our business going and maintain that competitive advantage, like I mentioned before, is called key activities, right? Although in a Model C canvas, it is not written out per se as a specific category, we still need we need to take that into account, right? Because that will help us determine what resources we need in our business, right? So we need to know what are the key things or the key activities that guides the daily operation of our business so that we can then identify the resources that we need, right? For example, let's say you're making a pepper sauce, right? Making a pepper sauce or making the pepper sauce is a key activity, and it's the fun part, right? But more goes into it, right? Um, we should not forget about all the less attractive stuff that goes into actually making that pepper sauce, right? Like making advertisement, putting out flyers around town, organizing sampling in the local supermarkets. All those other little things are part of our key activities and will contribute to the success of the business, right? So, whereas the idea was to make this nice pepper sauce, it's not the only activity that we have in the business, right? So, we need to identify all those other ones that gonna take us to that pepper sauce, which is our final product, right? So when we're getting started, figuring out what is essential to our business keeps us focused, right? It's very important to be focused. It helps us develop strategies to make better decisions, and it potentially saves us a lot of time and money, right? If we're organized, if we are focused, then we will not be losing a lot of time and a lot of money, right? So it's very important to always be focused. Like I said, planning minimizes unpleasant surprises, right? So it's very important to have everything well planned out. So again, what do we really do all day, right? As entrepreneurs, what do we do all day? Or do we just sitting down there and idealizing our idea, or are we actually working to create this idea, right? What is it that we do all day, right? Well, as an entrepreneur myself, uh, I'm a business owner. I own a furniture shop. I can tell you from experience that there's a lot of things that we need to do daily, right? For example, speaking with customers, finding potential customers, offering our catalogs, right? Showing what new products we have. In my case, what new lumber we're using. These are the finishing, stains, varnishes, all this, right? And we need to keep on track because our competitors out there, they're also doing the same, a lot of research. So we need to do a lot of research. I'm also always making estimates for these customers. I'm sketching new designs to be attractive to them. We're also calling suppliers to see who has the best prices in this different supplies that we might need, ordering materials, planning delivery and shipping, and even making payroll, right? So, as an entrepreneur, we have to do all this, right? Starting up the business is not easy. It requires a lot of resources, and most of the times we do not have the financial resource to hire someone to do all these things, right? So, we need to do it. We need to identify these activities and we need to prioritize and be focused, right? So that we can save time and we can save money. But when I'm thinking about all of this and when it actually comes to writing it down on paper, I will not spell out exactly how many estimates I do, how many customers I call a day, uh, how many sales I make. No, we have to think in the bigger picture, right? And we have to keep it very simple, right? So that it does not become overwhelming. So when we're actually writing in our Model C canvas what our key resources are, we need to keep it simple, right? You do not need to spell out every logistical piece and or entirely map them out in the Model C canvas, right? We should be focused. Focus on activities that are absolutely crucial to delivering our value proposition, right? Those activities that if we do not do it, it will it will uh, it will be counterproductive for our business, right? So when you're mapping out your key resources, take that into account, right? Do not spell out everything in detail, right? Just identify those key activities, like the term says, key activities that are absolutely crucial to delivering our value proposition, right? Because if we would go about and we would list everything we do on a day, I think we would be here for a long while, right? So we just need to identify what are those key activities that are very crucial to identifying our resources. Uh, to make sure we cover our bases when making a list of these key activities, there are some crucial or very important questions that we should ask, right? One, if you have a product, what are the necessary steps to produce it? Two, if you have a service, what are you offering customers and what do you need to do in order to produce it, right? Three, how are you sharing updates, information with customer, or how are you getting your offerings out there? How do they know that you have this, right? How do they know that you have new products in the market? What channels are you using? So these are things that you need to ask yourself and identify it under key activities, right? Four, and perhaps the most important one, is what activities would create revenue for my business, right? What are those activities that I need to do so that I can have money in my pocket and I can revolve that money, right? Because the primary objective of any business is to make money, right? So ask yourself, what are the key activities that I need to do in order to create revenue? And also, you need to identify what activities do you find yourself doing every day? Because if you find yourself doing something every day, then it's very important for the business, right? So once you answer those five questions, then you can have a list of activities that you need to do, or a list of crucial activities for the business, right? As entrepreneurs, we do amazing things, right? That provide value to our customers, right? We have identified a problem that's out there, and then we try to produce a product that's going to solve that problem. But all that doing usually requires having stuff, right? If I have a list of activities, how am I going to do that, right? I need to have stuff to do that, right? I need to have perhaps financial capabilities to do it, right? Other resources I need to have as well, right? So it requires a lot of stuff, right? So these activities require stuff. And in business, we refer to those stuff as key resources, right? Those are our key resources that we need. So all that stuff that we have identified that we need to do those activities, those are our key resources. So knowing our key resources is very important. If we don't outline our key resources, we might get caught unprepared or not be able to perform one of our key activities, right? And perhaps one of those activities was very crucial in generating income, right? So it's very important uh, to know what they are, right? So knowing what is just as important as knowing how to do it, right? So when you are selling, for example, when you're selling your pepper sauce, you need to identify, for example, what stores am I targeting? What stores out there would target the audience that I want to reach? Um, are you selling locally or are you going out district? Um, what transportation and shipping medium do we use, right? All those things are very important. I mean, do you need any software to record sales so that we're prepared when we're doing our taxes? Um, how will you get your raw materials? Where will you get them? Where will you store them? Is there enough raw materials? Do you need to tweak your recipe or develop a new one? Do you need employees to do all this, right? It can be very overwhelming, right? It is a lot to consider, right? As entrepreneurs, it's quite very overwhelming, right? So to help us in that, um, key resources can be broken down into two general categories, right? When we're talking about the Model C canvas, we're talking about two general categories under key resources. That's the physical and the intellectual resources, right? Uh, in a traditional business canvas, for those of you who have worked with one before, you might see that key resources are actually broken down into four loose categories: physical, intellectual, human resource, and financial resource, right? But in a Model C canvas, the financial and the human are identified under teams and partnerships and the cost structure, right? So it's not that we have taken it out because it's very important, but we have sub-identified it under another category, right? So for a Model C canvas, the canvas that we are doing right now, there are two general categories. It's physical properties and intellectual properties. So what are physical properties? Well, physical properties are all those equipments that we use, which includes manufacturing equipments, laptops, computers, phones, buildings, warehouses, where we make our products, vehicles that we might use for the business, the cash register, distribution channels. All these are our physical resources for the business, right? So everything that's tangible per se is considered a physical resource for the business, right? When we talk about intellectual resources, now we're talking about various ideas that can be patented or copyright. For example, your recipes uh, for your pepper sauce. It includes as well branding, proprietary knowledge, partnerships, and even your customer base. That's an intellectual property, right? Um, it is very difficult but very important to develop IP, right? Why difficult or why tough sometimes? Because it requires a lot of creativity, um, a lot of creativity to develop something new that the market does not have, right? I s- yes, a lot of key sorry, I lost a track here. Okay, so intellectual, right? So developing IP for your business is very important, right? Like like I was saying, it it is very important for the business because it gives you something new, right? Something that no one has, no one else has. And if somebody else wants to use it, they need to pay you for that, right? So developing IP resources is very important. So now you need to ask yourself, right? What key activities do I need to do in order to make my business successful, right? And once you have those activities, you can subclassify them under physical and intellectual, right? So ask yourself, what are our key physical resources that I require, and what are my key intellectual resources that I need for my business, right? Um, any questions so far, guys? I see. So, like I was saying, for my business, for example, I own a carpentry shop. Um, my physical resources would be all my machinery, all the lumber that I use, all the paint, all the finishes, all the varnishes, consumables like sandpaper, glue, screws, etc. All those are my physical resources, including the vehicles that I use to deliver my products, um, the different computers that I use to do my estimates. All those things are my physical resources in my business, right? I see Gary Young here says some key physical report resources that my business are storage and processing equipment. Yes, that is correct. Yes, that is very correct. So all the physical things, all the tangible things that I can have or I can touch, or all the things that I use to make my product, those are referred to as the physical resources, right? Now, when it comes to the intellectual part for my business, it would be the designs that I do. If they're new designs, what I develop, that's going to be part of my intellectual resource. My customer database, knowing what they like, knowing their finishes, knowing what usually their budget usually or their budget margin is. All that is very important, so that I can produce a product that I know I can target them, right? Because if I go with someone who is under middle class, I cannot offer them something that's above their budget. So it's very important for me to know what their budget or their budget ranges are, right? So that would be part of my intellectual property as well, right? The brand of my company, the name that I've given it, the logo that I've produced, all of that would go under intellectual property, right? Um, so identifying those two is very important for your business, right? And then you might ask yourself, but who will do all that, right? Who does all that? Well, your team and your partners are the human resources, like I mentioned before, that will do all these activities, right? And the cost structure is would actually lay out the financial resources that I would need to um to run my business, right? So, guys, any question here? I think it's very helpful to actually identify the key resources before you actually going into and identifying your key resources, right? Although, like I said, it's not spelled out in the Model C canvas, you still need to identify those in order to identify your key resources, right? I see Aaron here says, where would we include something like gasoline that is needed for a vehicle? That is physical as well, right? Your gasoline would be a physical resource, right? And of course, you would require financial resources as well to buy that gasoline, right? So that would play a part of your cost structure, right? Any further question, guys? Tonight's session is quite very straightforward, very short. We're just dealing with key resources. Um, so any further question, guys? We have been receiving a few Model C canvas. I have been reviewing a few today. Providing feedback tomorrow, and they're quite complete. So please continue sending those. I see here policing, processing equipment, raw materials, storage building, computer printers. Yes, that's all your physical properties. What are some of your intellectual properties for your different businesses? Can you identify some of your intellectual properties? For those of you who are in agro processing, a recipe would be part of your intellectual property. Uh, the name or the logo of your company is part of your intellectual property as well, right? And like I said, it's a very important resource because it gives you the opportunity to develop something very new, right? Something that no one else has. And if somebody else wants to use it, they would have to pay the rights for it, right? So it's a very important resource once you can develop and make that, right? I see Polly here saying, do we need to list each and every physical resource? Like I mentioned before, we need to be focused. We need to identify what are those crucial physical resources that are needed. For example, let's say you would need a pen, right? I need a pen to do my estimates, right? I need paper to do my estimates, but I won't list pen, paper, marker. I won't go into that detail, right? So it's just those key resources that are very crucial in conducting your business. Perhaps you can have a category that says supplies, right? And all of that would be included in that, right? I see John Arana says trademark, brand logo. Yes, all of those are your intellectual properties. You've been very okay. Thank you very much. Does my raw material in which I'll be buying from the farmers fall under physical? Yes, all your raw material falls under physical resources. Yes, intellectual property recipes are intellectual properties. That is correct. Yes, the hazard plans. Those of course, all the SOPs, all your SOPs, all your best practices, all of those things are intellectual properties as well, right? Brand packaging and packaging, if you're talking about packaging as in materials, that would be part of your physical property. If you're talking about a packaging unique packaging, like maybe using biodegradable something that you developed, that would be under intellectual. Yes. Your slogan. Yes. Quality control procedures. Yes, of course, that's intellectual property. Would a specialist training certification be considered as an intellectual property? If it's something that you develop or if it's something that's unique to your business, then yes, that's part of your intellectual property. But if it's something that's standard or something that's, well, if it's like standardized process that everyone has access to or can use it, it will not be part of your intellectual property, right? So, any further question, guys? I see some comments that it was very clear. Trademark registration of businesses, yes, that's part of my intellectual property. So I think we've grasped an idea here. What is our physical and what is our intellectual properties, right? And remember, all of these would actually incur or would actually impact our cost structure, right? So, like I said, doing it requires stuff, and that stuff requires finances, which would influence in our cost structure, right? So yes, unique packaging. Yes, exactly. Unique packaging is part of your intellectual property, something that you created. Vendor supply list. Yes, that's part of your intellectual property as well. That can be considered your customer database. Um, so yes, that's part of your intellectual property. So guys, I think we're quite clear for tonight. Like Silverio mentioned, if you have any further questions after this broadcast, you can always uh, uh, review or find a copy of this training in the Google Classroom, or you can see the video again, or you can also email us or call us, and we will help you with any doubts that you might have. Right? I see Emma here writing. If we invite resource personnel to give sessions to women group, will that be intellectual? Depending what training you're doing here, right? If it's like I said, if it's something that you created and if it's something very unique to your business, then yes, that's part of your intellectual property. But if you're offering a training per se in value added, that's information that's quite out there per se. Then perhaps your business is actually giving that service, right? The way in which you deliver the service now, any particular technique that you might have, then that can be your intellectual property, right? Market surveys, yes, that would help you develop your customer database. So that's part of your um, intellectual property. So anything that's unique to you is part of your intellectual property, right? And anything or any material that you use to create that product or that service would be part of your physical properties. Customer feedback, that could be part of your database, where you say, well, this customer is more inclined to these types of products. This is their budget margins or their budget ranges. So yes, that's going to be part of your intellectual property as well, right? So any question, guys, you can email us at agriincubator@agriculture.gov.bz, or call us or leave us a message through Telegram, guys. I think we're quite clear. So thank you very much. Any further questions, I'm here to answer them as well, or just leave them at the Telegram group, and we're going to be answering. Silverio, back to you.
Thank you very much, Sergio. I think that you've done an excellent job tonight. I see that you have a lot of comments here, a lot of questions, and also good feedback from all the participants. So, thank you once again for an excellent presentation. And thank you to all our participants for keeping engaged and keeping the communication going. I just have to share a few reminders before we come to the close of tonight's session. And of course, you can continue leaving your questions and comments for Sergio, and we can review them after we have given the reminders. Very well. For tonight, I just want to give you a quick reminder that we have our Central Farm offices closed for sanitation at the moment. We do expect them to reopen on Monday. So in the meantime, you can reach us via the Telegram group, and we have a chat group there that has been set up, and you can leave your messages or you can comment on the Telegram channel. You can also send us your comments via email at agri.incubator@agriculture.gov.bz. And for those of you who have submitted your initial drafts of the C model canvas, you will know that we have been providing feedback. And as Sergio mentioned, some of them are being worked on at the moment. And so you will be getting feedback very soon. For the rest of you, feel free to submit your canvas, your drafts. And remember that we will be opening um, our our time to receive the final versions of the Model C Canvas starting on the 31st of January, and we will stop receiving the final versions on February the 7th. So you'll have an entire week for you to submit your final versions of your business models. And remember that after this week, after the 7th of February, then the evaluation of the business models are going to start. Very well. Also, I would like to remind you that you can reach us via our email address, agri.incubator@agriculture.gov.bz, or you can access all the content and materials of the various training sessions via our Google Classroom. You can also share your comments via our Telegram channel, and you can review the recording of this and our previous sessions um, through our YouTube channel. Our next session will be held on Tuesday, January 25th. That is next week, starting at 7 p.m. sharp, as we usually do. Um, and so I just want to tell you that that is going to be the last week of our training sessions. No? We have two remaining sessions before we close this ideation training. Let's see, do we have any other questions for Sergio in the in the chat? It seems as though we don't, except to say thank you, and you've done an excellent job, Sergio. Um, Very well. Well, with that, we come to the end of tonight's session. And let me say once again, thank you to Sergio, and thank you to all our viewers, all our participants, everyone who will also view the recording of this session, and who is completing your Model C Canvas. Thank you very much for being part of this ideation training, and we look forward to seeing you with us next week. Until then, keep safe and all the best.